Hi there. I hope you're doing well today. I have just, well, I'm learning to make sourdough bread. And it's just kind of a fun new skill that I want to learn. And so I've been watching tons of videos on YouTube to start to, because apparently it can be a very complicated process. It requires many steps. It's and preparation and timing and so I've been watching lots of videos to see if I can start to slowly integrate the logic and the steps, just like learning any new skill, right? Like it takes time and learning. And the first 3 or so videos that I watched were all slightly different, but mainly the same in terms of what they were showing you, what the steps were, and it was quite elaborate. And then I came across a video that was the super easy, minimum prep version of making sourdough bread. And of course, it's not going to be a loaf that wins any prizes in terms of appearance or flavor, but it is still a decent loaf of bread, and probably for most people is going to be plenty fine, and especially if you're a beginner and you just want it to not be a complete failure, then this is going to be good enough, right? And anyway, this got me thinking, well, 2 things happened. So that I've been doing this research, and then I'm going through my to-dos and just doing some regular everyday work stuff. And at a certain moment, I had to I sit on the floor when I work now, and I just kind of leaned back. I was feeling a lot of painful emotion. So I got triggered by something I saw earlier, and that was my mind was trying to process that still, and it had triggered feelings of shame. And actually I want to do another video about this because a lot of my clients, me included, suffer from trying to always get things right, and so it can be really draining all day long to be seeing things on the internet that tell us how to do things, and then that's triggering this feeling of, am I doing things right? Am I getting them right? Am I doing it right? Have I done something wrong? And I think some of you maybe will relate to this. I think especially women, I'm not sure about this, but it feels like probably it's also very, like a lot of women suffer from this. Definitely a lot of my female clients suffer from this. Anyway, so that was kind of working in my system, that trigger, as I was trying to do other things, practical things. And so what happened is I noticed that, and it kind of reached a threshold where I needed to lean back. I just laid it down on my back and did what I know how to do now with emotions. And that's what I wanted to share here, because I realized that when there's a lot of information now out there on the internet, which is great, about how to do inner work, how to do emotions and management, and like emotional management, and be with your emotions, and spiritual practices, and relational advice, like how to be in a relationship. And there's so much information. And it's true that with inner work, you can get really fancy, right? There are lots of modalities and exercises and techniques. I myself am certified in 2 of them, the completion process, which is an inner child healing modality, and the soul-based coaching, which is a all-purpose personal development approach, or healing modality. But what I wanted to share here is that just like when making bread, you can get fancy, or you can stick to the basics. And I wanted to share what those basics are here. So I wanted to give you my version of the super easy inner work, or let's call it self-care, emotional self-care approach. And I think for me, those require 2 things. And the first one is acknowledgement. So our emotions they really just need from us acknowledgement. And this is something that I don't think is known enough. Like this word acknowledgement, for me, it's even different than validation, because in the completion process, we do start with the first step, which is validating. Well, actually, the first step is just feeling, like feeling the feeling, like being aware, becoming aware of the feeling. And then when you've become aware of it, like you've paused for a moment to feel it, then you want to validate it. But for me, validation can be tricky for some people, because it has like to validate something is to, and I 100% want to claim here that all emotions are valid. But I think for a lot of people, that's kind of difficult at first to validate their own feelings. There can be a lot of, they might have dealt with a lot of devalidation and judgments and perspectives on emotions and which are valid and when and how are they valid. And so that can be a tricky process for some people. So I want to offer something else that I think should be easier and just as effective, if not more effective, which is acknowledgement. And it's really that simple. So it's taking time, and I recommend doing this throughout the day, pausing what you're doing and acknowledging what you're feeling. Has something triggered you? Is there what's happening in your chest? Like what's happening? And different people have different levels of emotional literacy, let's say. So for some people, this will be very easy to do and very natural and organic. They're always aware of their emotional body and what it's feeling. For others, it's going to take practice and time to even get to the place where they can label an emotion, like acknowledge, like, oh, I'm feeling sad or angry or frustrated, or anxious, or I'm worrying about something, or just upset in general. Like sometimes we can tell we're upset, but we haven't really pulled it apart yet. We're not quite sure what has even caused that upset. Maybe we're just feeling, numb. We can also feel numb, right? We can feel kind of shut off or confused. I mean, there's so many different emotions that we can feel. So acknowledging and just acknowledging what you already are aware of, and letting that be enough. So if what you're aware of is that I sense that I'm feeling something, but I'm not quite sure what it is, that's still acknowledgement. So that the idea is that you are putting words to your emotional body. And often these emotions, like they can be more like complex or like a constellation of different emotions in our system. But what you can try is seeing if there is a primary emotion. Just like with colors, you've got your like red, green, red, blue, and yellow, kind of like the primary colors. I do believe that we have primary emotions. Fear, anger, sadness. I think these are the primary ones. And fear has different flavors. Like, is it a fear like you've got a bear in front of you fear, or is it an anxiety, this kind of like low key but always in the background nagging kind of worry of the future, something that's not immediately in front of you? So there are different flavors to these, and different flavors to sadness, and different flavors to anger. Is it anger? Is it a hot red anger, or is it a resentment, right, or a passive aggressive kind of feeling? So but yeah, if you can kind of identify like which one, what you're feeling, and just give words to it. And the idea here is what you're doing is you are acknowledging, you are taking some time to take your focus out of the external, immediate, day-to-day things that we're always occupied with, always just thinking about what you're trying to get done and what you're doing next, and or thinking about the future a lot, or about the past, and just bringing it really in close to the present moment, to your present emotional body and what it happens to be feeling in that present moment, and acknowledging it. And I want you, if you're going to do this, pay attention to what effect that has. I know I can tell you what effect it has for me. It is so soothing. Just this one simple practice of acknowledging what I'm feeling, it has an immediate soothing effect. It's almost like, if you think of like upset child, it's that moment where the caregiver turns, is like busy doing something and turns around and just looks, and it's like, oh, I see that you are upset. And that for that part of ourselves, for that child, is just being seen. Just because that's the worst, right? When we're upset, but it's also not being recognized or addressed directly. And you can provide yourself with this, with regular moments of this turning inwards and acknowledging to yourself that you are feeling something. Maybe unpleasant. You can do this with positive emotions too. I think it's important also to acknowledge when we're feeling gratitude or excitement about something, or pleasure, like joy, delight. You can do it with all emotions. But I think especially with the negative ones, it is very important. Normally, because negative emotions, they tend to have this effect that they drain us. They take a lot of energy to move, to kind of function as we're feeling them in the background. Whereas a positive emotion normally is energizing us. It's giving us good energy that we don't need to deal with, right? So that's the thing, the main thing. Acknowledge. That's what I would like for you to be the takeaway. And then the second thing is this concept that I've talked about already quite a few times, that I'm calling time plus presence. And the key ingredient here being presence, but you also need to act like it needs time, like time and presence together. So what is that like? That's what I was doing a moment ago, that I'm also regularly doing, and that's why I enjoy such a healthy emotional system. I was thinking about it this morning, I haven't been stressed, genuinely, chronically stressed in years. I don't know what that's not a thing that I experience anymore. I can experience acute stress like anybody in life, when you're about to miss the bus or train or something, but this kind of chronic stress, that's not something I suffer from. I live in a very regulated, flowy, emotional body, a very happy emotional body, even as I'm experiencing all of the emotions, precisely because I let myself experience all of them, and I do this practice that I'm sharing now. So time plus presence, it's where you are, so you've acknowledged that there's something up in your emotional body, you're giving that words, you're admitting to yourself, to it, that you see it, that you see that it's there, that it's a thing. And then instead of thinking about how can I fix this, or where does it come from, or what's the problem, instead of going into our heads about analyzing it, the why question, I hear this a lot from people, why. And there are two ways to ask the why question. I could go on about this, but I'll just say we can ask it with that resistant energy of why is this here? It shouldn't be here. That's the assumption we're making. Or it can be asked with curiosity, I wonder why I am feeling this. That's a great way to ask the why question. That will invite some really fruitful inner work. But if you're asking this why, why is this here, from that place of judgment against it, that's not so fruitful. But we can, like I said, get stuck in thinking about why and all the circumstances around it. So time plus presence, on the other hand, is where we focus on just being present with it. So it's not we're not doing anything, but it's probably for a lot of people something they're not used to doing, which is not thinking about it, but being with it. And it's that simple. I'm not going to say easy, probably for some people in the beginning especially, but it is that simple. So it's you're taking your energy, your life force, your selfness. I don't know how to put it, but you can explore what this is for you, right? You're taking your consciousness, your focus, your attention, your energy, your presence, and you are bringing that to the emotion, to the emotional body, to your body. And some people like to give words, like see it like, oh, there's this pressure in my chest, or there's a crying child in my body, or you can do that, right? But it's like you're using the mind to locate that thing, and then you're going towards it, and you're coming into it, and you're just being with it. And this is the presence, and then time, because that time, and then you just hang out. It's really just like a hanging out with that energy, that emotional energy in your body. And that presence has that time plus presence, it's like a composting effect. So the same way that if you put your organic waste in a compost bin over time, it changes into lovely fertile humus. Is that what it's called? That does happen with your emotional energy as well. When you add that, think of it like, it's a bit like the presence is that warmth, that energy that allows that alchemical process to happen, that transformative process. And our bodies, our emotional bodies, need this time, and they need this presence to be healthy, to be well. I can't stress that enough. I think that's like the one thing I wish more people knew and really practiced. We would live in such a more healthier world, happier world, if more people did this more often. If everyone did it as often as necessary, it would be fantastic. So I wanted to help make, if you're kind of like new to the world of self-help and inner work and healing, emotional healing, and you want to get the basics down, which I recommend, like no matter what skill you're learning, what's the basics of this skill before you get fancy with things, right? Like me with my sourdough bread, before I get fancy, can I get the basics down? And that's what I believe is the basics of emotional self-care: acknowledgement and time plus presence. So yeah, let me know if this is clear, if you have any questions that have come up while watching, if you want me to go into more more detail about something or explain something again. I'm happy to do that. And I recommend giving this a go, like committing to a period of like a month of at least 3 times a day, checking in with your emotional body, acknowledging what's there, and spending maybe 5-10 minutes of this time plus presence. And then notice, like after a period of time, notice what happens to you. I'd love to hear from you, like what the impact is. It can only be really good, right? So, yeah, I hope this is helpful. And if you want to explore this further, like your own way to do this for yourself further, that's something that can be explored in a soul-based coaching session. Or if there's another topic that you just want some solid space holding with and solid support with, then of course soul-based coaching is always an option. That's what it's there for. It's so that you can not have to do it all yourself, with yourself, for yourself. You can invite someone else into the process, someone who is specialized in inner work, self-help, self-care, emotional healing, emotional wellness, mental wellness. Yeah, you can get yourself some sessions. All right, much love. Take care. Bye.